Hello everyone, this is Ben from VGBlaster and today I am bringing you my first standard deck profile for Vanguard. So as I said in my box opening videos, Kagero was the deck I was going to focus on first and I've managed to pretty much complete it. There's one little bit of proxying in this, but I'll explain when I get to it. So my builds, a lot of standard decks are pretty similar. My build's slightly different, but there's not much in terms of variation that we have at the minute because there's not a vast amount of cards available in standard as of yet. But mine's, as I say, it's a little different. I'll go for it when I get to the cards. You'll see why pretty soon. It's pretty much the grade 3 lineups, different than most decks. I kind of did this because I'm looking at the current kind of win ratios from certain clans. So Oracles and Novas are doing the best right now. So this build is trying to keep up with them to kind of give Kagero the better chance at winning against those decks specifically. It still does well against Royals as well. It does as well as it always did against Royals. So yeah, I'll just jump straight into it. So obviously we're using Kagero. We have to use Undo as our starter, and we are a Force clan. I just like showing off that nice Kai marker, honestly. So yeah, so obviously same effect as every current starter. When rolled upon, draw a card. So starting off with grade 3s, we will of course be running 4 copies of Dragonic Waterfall. When ridden, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or greater rear guards and retire it. And when it attacks, you may Sword Blast one grade 3 unit, and at the end of battle this unit gets plus 10,000 power, 1 crit, and your opponent cannot call Sentinels from Guardian Circle to hand. So obviously this is your main finisher. You want to be consecutively riding into these if you can. But this deck, if you're very lucky, you can do it on first ride. You can go into this attack with the crit, and pretty much your opponent has to drop a lot of hand or just take it. So this is really good kind of against Oracles to a degree. You have to know the decks and you have to know how to play. So usually if you're going to play against Oracles, you'd probably slap 2 force markers on your Vanguard to make sure you're either forcing so they can't guard it, or so they're going to have to go through the whole hand. There's no point kind of, to a degree, kind of powering up your rear guards because they're just going to save the protect markers or sentinels for them because they know they can't stop your Vanguard. So powering up your rear guards is almost, not pointless, but not as effective as just pumping up your Vanguard. Against Royals and Novas, yeah, power up your rear guards because they don't have the greatest amount of stopping power in terms of defense, but yeah, just plan your force markers wisely, know the clan you're against, and you should be alright. So next, grade 3s, we'll be running 4 copies of Dragonic Overlord. Vanguard Rearguard once per turn, Sword Blast 1, this unit gets plus 10,000 power until the end of turn, and on Vanguard once per turn when this unit attack hits, Vanguard Rearguard anything, count plus 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this card and it gets drive -1 until the end of turn. So this is your ideal if you don't get any kind of setup for Waterfall. This is your ideal ride, just to put a bit of early pressure on. Can kind of field control because you can start attacking rear guards and then attack your opponent's Vanguard after that. Especially if you get a crit on the drive check, you're really forcing your opponent to drop a lot of guard early, making it easier to kill them with Waterfall on your next turn. But yeah, so Dragonic Overlord's pretty self-explanatory. And next I run 2 copies of Cruel Dragon. So yeah, this is where my deck kind of differs. 10 grade 3s may seem excessive, but I actually really quite like it at the minute, especially Cruel Dragon, because it really kind of helps out the deck quite a bit. You do need quite a bit. This deck needs more soul than I thought it did originally, especially when you go into like your grade 2s and 1s, and also you always want to keep your grade 3s in soul for Waterfall. So I always kind of want to have resources to be able to retire, because you really need to control your opponent's field, especially against Nova Grappler and against Royals, and to a degree if you can consistently get rid of your opponent's field against Oracles, they either won't call anything or they'll have to start dropping the hand to replenish the field. So that means it's easier for you to kill them next turn because they'll have less hand, or you won't have as much to guard, so it's easier for you to survive. But anyway, yeah, so Cruel Dragon from hand. During the turn which your opponent's rearguard was retired, you may normal call this unit to rearguard circle even if a Vanguard was grade 2 or less, and when this unit attack hits the Vanguard, you may return it to hand, and if you do, soul charge 1. So the reason I run this is because it puts a tiny bit of pressure on early. The early game isn't as effective as it used to be because of the crit power now. So if you have your Vanguard and another rearguard, your rearguard, you go, I'll attack your rearguard first, or you attack your Vanguard first even, and they get a trigger, you don't, then this isn't hitting, like regardless of anything. Yeah, it can swing at rear guards, but people don't tend to flood the field that early now because they know the early rush isn't a bigger thing. But also, because we run 10 grade 3s, the chances of you soul charging a one off this skill is a little higher, so it kind of works out. It has happened to me quite a few times where I've been able to go to Cruel Dragon, used the skill, balanced it to hand, and then soul charged another grade 3, and then I can just ride straight into Dragonic Waterfall. That's, you shouldn't really rely on that strategy, but it can happen. But yeah, so I quite like Cruel Dragon for those reasons. Once again, you need a few more soul for things like Berserk Dragon and you bar, so it's always good to keep that up so you can consistently retire, as I said, because you want to work on that field control. I've seen a very similar build to this in Japan, but they ran 4 Cruel Dragon. They swapped the numbers of Cruel Dragon, Dragonic Overload, so they ran 2 Overload, 4 Cruel Dragon. I think that's a bit excessive. You don't really want to be riding Cruel Dragon because it's a dead Vanguard. You can if you need, you still get your force marker, but it's not really doing anything, it's not putting any pressure on. So I didn't like that Cruel Dragon being at 4. I get why it was, but I mean, if you want, you can do 3-3, that's another option, but yeah. So moving on to grade 2s, 4 copies of Berserk Dragon, Vanguard Rearguard when placed, cost of Cat Boss 1 and Soul Boss 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and retire it, and if this unit was on the Vanguard when it was placed, draw a card. And when this unit attacks the Vanguard, if you have more rearguards than your opponent, this unit gets plus 3000 power until the end of turn. So Berserk Dragon is really, really good card, pretty much a staple for Kagero. It's the only current Kagero card that has no restriction on what you can retire, so everything else is grade 2 or greater, grade 2 or less, back row, same column. Berserk Dragon is just anything, so that's really useful against something like Nova Grappler, where they have cards on their Excel circles, so you know that's not in the back row, that's not going to be in the same column as your bar when you call it, so you just call this and then kill something on the Excel circle, which is obviously going to be a problem. So once again, this is why we want to keep the soul, because we always want to be using Berserk Dragon's skill. It's the most effective retiring card you have in your deck, as I said, with no restrictions. Also the second ability of gaining 3k when it attacks a Vanguard. You usually have more rear guards than your opponent unless something's gone really wrong or you're in the mirror match. So it consistently makes 13k, which means you can just swing straight at a Force Vanguard with no boost. And then if you have obviously a Force Marker under it, it's making more magic numbers. So yeah, Berserk Dragon is absolutely essential to this deck. Next, 4 copies of Nihalem. When placed on rearguard, Cat Boss 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards in the back row and retire it, and this unit gets plus 5000 power until the end of turn. Quite useful. You know, there's nothing overly effective you want to get rid of. It was more like the mirror match, you want to get rid of your opponents like Rapiers, whatever they're called. Rapier. There's some other things that are annoying as well, like Marin, things like that. So it's more retiring, as I said, more field control, gets the bit of power as well. This really helps making it easy for you to guard, making it harder for your opponent to actually replenish field. And finally for grade 2s, 2 copies of Dragon Armoured Knight. This final space is kind of open to whatever you kind of want to run. I think originally I was running Bellicosity. As Dragon Armoured Knight, when it attacks a Vanguard, if your opponent has 3 or less rearguards, this unit gets plus 5000 power until the end of turn. Hitting some numbers again against Force. But yeah, I was running Bellicosity, but I found it was more common that my opponent had 3 or less rearguards than it was that me consistently retiring every single turn. So yeah, this more likely was being able to swing at Vanguard, because that's pretty much all you're doing is swinging as Vanguard, because you kind of try and field control your opponent out and to use skills to retire your opponent's rearguards. Sometimes you have to, but yeah, I don't know. I found Dragon Armoured Knight was working a little better, but I might swap it back to Bellicosity, we'll see. You can also run Spillover Dragon. I personally don't like Spillover Dragon. I don't like having to lose one of my own units to kill one of my opponents. I'd rather have something that, I call it, it kills something and it stays on the field so I can actually attack with it. And then obviously it's still there as well if I need to intercept with it, things like that. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Spillover Dragon. I think there's enough retiring in the deck to warrant not running it. So yeah, and as I say, and yeah, you can say, but you say the deck relies on soul, but kind of Krill Dragon does that for you. That's it. Moving on to grade 1s, should be 4 copies of ammo. As I'm saying, this is proxy for now, because they're going to take a while to arrive. So I just thought I'll make this video. You know what I mean, 4 ammo. During the turn that it boosted, it gets plus 3000 power, making it 11k booster. So that's really, can help in certain situations. Doesn't make a lot of magic numbers against stuff, but it's always great. But you really using it for a second skill is when your opponent's rearguard is retired during your turn, retire this unit, draw a card and countercharge 1. The only countercharge option available in Kagero. It draws to replace itself, so you don't mind losing it. And then, as I said, once again, countercharging means you have more resources available to retire your opponent's stuff. Is that right? That's it. So, next for grade, once 4 copies, I run 4 copies of bar, just because I want to see it more regularly to get a bit more retiring off. This is interchangeable. I run Ropier at 3, you can move this to 4 and this to 3 if you want, that's kind of your choice, but at the minute I'm liking bar at 4, just so I can see it a bit more regularly. It means I get more retires off. So when placed, choose one of your opponent's grade 2 or less rearguards in the same column. That's the most restricting retire you can get. But yeah, so grade 2 or less rearguards in the same column as this unit, retire it, and if you have more rearguards than your opponent, this unit gets plus 5000 power until the end of turn. Once again, you obviously need the soul for this, but it's alright, you can obviously do it, and then it'll gain the 5k, and then it's 13, it can swing by itself in the front row against every single Vanguard. So, yeah, as I say, I quite like bar. I run it at 4 for the optimum chance of getting into it, meaning more retires. Then, as I said, 3 copies of Ropier. Vanguard rearguard, when your opponent's rearguard is retired during your turn, this unit gets plus 5000 power until the end of battle. That is by just retired, so it doesn't have to be by effect or anything like that. It's the same effect as Bellicosity. As I said, if you want to run Bellicosity in conjunction with this, you can make quite some powerful columns. But as I said, I didn't find I was retiring that or like consistently. Like, you do retire pretty much every turn, but then sometimes you're really struggling and you just have to go for another turn where you just have to go at your opponent's Vanguard without really calling anything. So yeah, I'm still playtesting this, by the way. This is kind of like an initial build. It seems to be working so far, but as I say, I might switch back to, the only big difference is I'll probably switch back to Bellicosity and the grade 2 lineup, but we'll see. And finally for grade 1s, I run 2 copies of Dominance Dragon. If you want this to be a 1 of something, you can have this at Gias if you want. I'm not overly a big fan of Gias. Gias, however you say it. And the Cat +1 put into Soul gives something an extra crit. It can put a lot of pressure on, but I don't know, you need the resources, you need to have it kind of there in the first place. I kind of like Dominance Dragon for when it attacks a Vanguard. If you have more rearguards than your opponent, this unit gets plus 5000 power until the end of that battle, so it makes it 13. Once again, you really just want to be pushing your opponent's Vanguard as hard as possible, as early as possible. Just putting damage in as quickly and as consistently as you can. So once again, I like this because you can just call it, and then it can attack your opponent's Vanguard, no matter if it's Force, Clan or whatever, straight away, 13k to swing, forcing a bit of pressure, forcing hand cards, or getting a bit of damage. So that's the reason I run Dominance Dragon. As I say, if you want to swap this for, I might try it with Gaius. I did originally run it like that, but then I found I wasn't using him all that regularly. So yeah, we'll see. So for trigger lineups, currently running 7 crit, nothing too exciting about that, because we run 5 draws, obviously 4 being Perfect Guards, 1 Vanguard Bari, and 1 of our Red Gen Carbuncle. This deck needs a bit more hand. You want to, as I say, fill in your field up. You need the defense, you need to survive against Novas, you need to be able to put that pressure on Oracles and Royal Paladin. So yeah, I find 7 crit 5 draws working pretty okay for me at the minute. And then finally we run, obviously, 4 heals. So that's my deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Do feel free to ask any questions down in the comments below. Do feel free to challenge me. I know it's a bit of a weird build, and it is, as I say, it's a test build. the great thing about standard at the minute is you can kind of see what's doing well. You can look at like, oh, oracles have got the highest win rate at the minute, and you can kind of make slight alterations to your deck to kind of match it, because originally, like, most people are just running like 4 waterfall, 4 overlord, pretty standard kind of, not an imaginative lineup, but just kind of like, yeah, this looks like it will work fine, it's really strong, but then when you actually play against what's in the meta, you realise it's not enough. You need to be a bit smarter with how you make your deck. I'm not saying this is the perfect build, I'm not saying like, yeah, I'm the smartest Vanguard player alive, I've cracked the code, but like, I don't know, just be inventive as you can, because there's not that many cards to play with yet in standard. But yeah, I'd say, even as I say, I'd never say copy this deck outright, just maybe look at it and think, yeah, okay, that's an interesting idea, maybe I'll try my own way of doing that. Well, yeah, as I say, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments below. I do like engaging in conversation with this. I'm really enjoying standard at the minute. I'm off to Teams this weekend to see G format out, because I think that's kind of a garbage format. Now, you know, if you're going into premium, anything that gets kind of V support is kind of become broken beyond belief. So like unblockable oracles, Blaster. Well, some people saying Blaster Blade OTK. It's not really that consistent in actual OTK, but it's still a pretty strong deck. It just abuses new cards and force markers and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, looking forward to this. I don't know what I'll be building next because I'm missing like VRs for Royals and Oracles. I really want to do Oracles next, but that might be a while. So we'll see. I might get some games filmed with some fully built standard decks to show you how they play, kind of interactions with each other, but we'll see. And if you are going to be in Cardiff this weekend for the UK Nationals, I'll see you there. I'm playing obviously both in Vanguard and Buddy Fight. Vanguard, I have no illusion about that. I probably won't do that well at. Buddy Fight though, I'm quite confident that I'll do decently well at it. I've got a good team. Not that my Vanguard team's bad, but yeah, I'll stop waffling now. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you very soon. I've been Ben from VGBlaster. Goodbye.